I was having this late night chat with my guides as I was in my evening meditation last night about the fact that the DA has only ever been in charge of success stories. And where that story was not a success story, they never managed to turn it around. And as we're having this conversation, I then came to the realization that be it the National Party, which rebranded into the Democratic Alliance, they have never truly ever managed South Africa in its totality. What I mean by that is during apartheid, a lot of the resources, the country's resources, were directed towards a minority, whilst the majority was left to suffer, to live in inhospitable areas, to access inferior healthcare, inferior education, etc., etc. And so perhaps it is not so surprising that the DA is doing well in predominantly white areas, the areas that even the apartheid government was really putting all their efforts into. So when you think about it realistically, it can be said that the DA, now formerly NP, has never actually known how to govern for all of the people in South Africa, or to govern all of the people in South Africa. And so why it is upsetting and deeply disconcerting to see the DA move in the way that it does is because you can't say that you do something well when you only do it well for a small group of people. Because when you look at the challenges they face around the predominantly black and colored communities, and how they have just not managed to rise to the occasion in truly coming up with cohesive solutions, pragmatic solutions that actually begin to show that changes are in place and that a change is happening. And I think as well the complete lack of understanding and lack of an inability to place themselves in the other's shoes to really know what it is like to live a certain way, to suffer a certain way, that it then makes it seem okay, particularly when, let me finish that sentence, it makes it seem okay that others are living really terrible lives, because all your life, all you've seen is your housekeeper has made it to work, your garden, your grounds man, I know they call them garden boy, that they made it to work. Consistently in all this ugliness, black people show up at work, they look good, they look... So even though someone lives in a shack, you cannot appreciate what it actually means to live in a shack, because the people coming out of those environments generally do not look like they come from that. And there is an argument to be made that privilege does allow one to dress shabbily, you know, because even when you're shabby, it's probably a very exclusive brand that you're wearing. And yet, if someone is poor, if they dress shabby, they really look poor, because it's their oldest rags. It's not like, or some fancy thing that they just don't wear. When you're poor, you wear your clothes often. And so when something is old, it is old. You don't buy something because it's old noir. You know what I mean? And I think this is what consistently allows them to enjoy the position that says, oh, apartheid ended 30 years ago, because they don't know what it's like to be black and to live in those areas, to date, have parents who were miseducated. And, you know, so I think if one is to truly give a chance to any political party, it is the party that is really doing something phenomenal for black people and other people of color. Because white areas do look good. They are taken care of. But as a Cape Town resident who is constantly face to face with the reality of what it means to be black in Cape Town and watch how other black people live, I always say that it causes a kind of like a psychotic break as a person of color living in Cape Town, because tourist Cape Town is so pretty. It's so pretty. And it's so inaccessible if you're not a tourist, or if you're not of a certain skin color, or are just do not have access to financial means. Yes, there are vineyards. Yes, there are all these wonderful places, but to get to them, if you do not have financial resources, there are so many black Cape Townians that have never been to Cape Town. Someone living in Khayelitsha who has never been to Cape Town town. And to someone that will seem like, oh, they haven't explored where they live, but when you have lived here, it is not shocking to hear something like that. To hear that a black person hasn't been to Cape Town, hasn't been to the beach, and yet they have lived here all their lives. So this idea of even Cyril praising the DA, this is where the heartbreak really comes, because we know what that means. If you want to praise someone, Dr. Nasipa, I don't know if I'm saying her name right. I always think it's Nozipho, but I think it is Nasipa Moyo. I could be wrong about her surname. I should have checked this. I didn't think that this would be part of it. But that's someone to celebrate. The mayor of Tshwane, that is someone to celebrate. The examples are not far. And there are other, councillors in certain metros that are also doing well. So the idea that you can only highlight something being done well by highlighting the DA, when even how they do things well is deeply problematic and actually deeply painful for a lot of people, is so short-sighted, and in many ways it is a betrayal on his part. So in my meditation, as we're chatting, I realized that that's what truly bugs me about the DA, is that they've only ever committed to governing white spaces and to taking care of white people. So much so that they are willing to hand our country over to Israel if it guarantees that they have power.